Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, March 5th to Saturday, March 11th. So last week, of course, we transitioned from February to March. And of course, that brought some very, very intense energy as, of course, we knew that March was going to get off to a very fantastic bang, which it did. Take a look at that Schumann Resonance. We definitely had several blasts come in, setting up a framework, a grid work for new foundations, new structures, new realities to be built. And we are definitely going to get to that as we move through the month of March. We also had Mercury move out of that Aquarian energy, move into Pisces energy on the 2nd. So we are definitely feeling that intensity over the last couple of days in our mental plane because, of course, Mercury, ruler of the lower level of our mental plane, was in Aquarian energy, the highest form of our intellect. So there was a lot of pressure there, a lot of intensity, a lot of rapid thoughts, a lot of ideas that very few of us could actually articulate, actually express, put into a form in which we actually understood. We're not meant to understand anything right now. These are the elements that are taking place behind the curtain, behind the scenes, if you will. We're not supposed to understand it. We're not supposed to have clarity. So if you're sitting in confusion, we'll talk about that in just a bit, but you're exactly where it is that you need to be. Now, Mercury moving into Pisces energy isn't going to give us very much clarity at all. This is actually where things become a little bit more vague, a little bit more wish-washy, a little bit more confusing. Again, because you're not supposed to be conscious with these thoughts. You're not supposed to realize what's going on. You're not supposed to be putting the pieces together. This is something that's going on to our energetic selves, our soul self, behind the scenes, metaphysically. Of course, when we move into Aries season, that's when all of this behind the scenes energy, behind the curtain energy, will come into fruition. It'll be a little bit more direct, straightforward. What's going on now is the impregnation, if you will, of the new cycles, systems, patterns that we're about to move into. We know that there's a baby in there. We know we've created life. We know there's a lot going on behind the scenes in order for this to happen, but we're not seeing it. We just trust and can validate through the experience that something is growing within us. We will start pushing. We will start giving birth. We will start to see the physical manifestation of what's been going on within us when we enter into Aries season. So I think a lot of people are getting caught up and confused right now because everything is so confusing. We are hoping and praying and asking for guidance and validation. This is not the time for that. This is the time to let go, to surrender, to let the energies do what they will, to let your psyche do what it has to do in order to unpack the emotional baggage and blockages that you've accumulated. This is a purification stage, a cleansing stage. We're at the very end of the zodiac wheel, which is not a conscious energy. It's an unconscious energy, an unseen energy. So if you are feeling frustrated or scared or uncertain because you're looking for a direction, you're asking for validation, you're not getting any kind of clarity or any kind of hints, good. You're exactly where it is that you need to be. This is a percolation, marinating stage. You may not know how the whole system and process is supposed to unfold and how you could even arrive at a moment of clarity through all of this confusion, but you just have to trust the process. So this week, we're going to have a banger of a week. You hear me say that a lot. I'm not trying to be repetitive. I'm not trying to create hype. It's literally that we are the furthest that we've ever been in this experiment that is human life. We are the furthest we've ever been with our evolution, with this level of awareness, enlightenment, and consciousness. And therefore, each month provides us with an extra layer of difficulty and blessings that we haven't experienced thus far. But when I say that March is a very pivotal month, I do not hesitate to say that. It is an understatement. And that's why I've gone to great lengths, not only to break down the year in month-to-month little packages in order to get the great grand overview in the 2023 energy forecast that I put out at the beginning of the year, but I take my time to give a good overview of what it is that we can expect, highs, lows, and everything in between for each month. And of course, you can find that in March's energy forecast. So if you've listened to those forecasts, you would know what we're in for this week. Let me break it down for you. First of all, we have the full moon, our last full moon of this astrological calendar, taking place in Virgo energy on the 7th. This is important for a couple of reasons. The sun is in Pisces, shining a bright light on what needs to be healed, what needs to be cleansed, what needs to be purified. The full moon wants us to release certain topics and themes and chapters of our lives. And in this Virgo energy, it has a lot to do with the mental plane because, of course, Virgo energy and Earth energy ruled over by Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, is the only sign of the zodiac that has the capability to really focus in on what it is that we want to create, what it is we want to let go, what it is that we need to really refine in our mental plane and have that manifest very quickly. Again, mind and matter when it comes to Virgo energy. So a lot of this particular energy is going to be focused on the mental narrative, the criticism, the judgment that we are casting upon oneself. This is going to be an opportunity to strike a balance between our logic and practicality of the here and now and trusting the universe with the magic that absolutely is an ingredient in the recipe of manifesting. The Virgo energy is very rooted to this physical earth, to our physical experiences, while the Piscean energy has nothing to do with this physical earth. It's behind the scenes. It's the emotional, energetic, spiritual type of realm that we will never truly understand. The Virgo energy needs to understand that ruler, Mercury, of course, needs to make sense out of everything. And sometimes you cannot make sense out of the hidden realm, out of energy, out of emotion, out of intuition. Sometimes you have to trust it and just let it be. The biggest thing that I think that all of us are going to experience here with this full moon in Virgo is this sense of closing the door, closing the chapter, which of course we're in Pisces energy. So that's what this particular chapter of the calendar is all about. But even more than that, Saturn, the Lord of Karma, ruling over roles, responsibilities, systems, structures, foundations, basically the tough love life lesson giver of the zodiac, is wrapping up his particular time in Aquarius energy since 2020. And of course, when we take a good look at the great grand path and cycle that Saturn is about to close out by wrapping up his time in the last sign of the zodiac and Pisces energy, what we have to understand is he's also dethroning himself. When he was in Capricorn energy, when he was in Aquarian energy, he was in his place of power. He rules over those signs. So he is essentially stepping down from the throne in order to really kind of move through these Pisces energies and create a little bit of structure where our belief system, where our dream system is concerned. Now, there's some highs and lows to this Saturn energy. Of course, I went into great depth in the 2023 energy forecast. I went into a little bit more depth and detail in the March energy forecast. I hope that you would have downloaded your zodiac forecast to understand where this particular energy is taking place. And have it scheduled that I'm going to do a little bit of a Saturn special, if you will, for my Patreon VIPs. So if you're interested in diving into that, you should jump over to Patreon and join us. So that Saturn energy, that moves into the Pisces energy. It's already at this 29th degree in Aquarius. That's why there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of existential dread. It feels like there's a lot of weight, a lot of heaviness when it comes to the roles and responsibilities that we have, that we're closing out, that we're getting prepared to jump into, to take on. There's a lot going on. And emotionally speaking, we're not stable. We're not supposed to be. We're supposed to be thrown around, thrashed, beat down, broken down in order for us to be our raw, vulnerable selves. Why? Because we need to drop the emotional weight and baggage that we've been carrying, lighten the load as we enter into this new astrological calendar that will kick off with the spring equinox that, of course, triggers Aries season. So Saturn moves into Pisces about an hour after the full moon in Virgo. So this is some serious stuff, guys. This is a closing out of karma, a closing out of chapters, of endings, of really kind of seeing where it is that we're flipping the scales. For those of you that have Saturn in Pisces energy, this is your Saturn return. You best believe that you're about to go through a major shift, a memorable shift that you will constantly look back on as you proceed and progress throughout your life as a changing times, a changing of the guard, if you will. This is going to have a major effect on all of us, no doubt, but you do have to consult your chart and see where Saturn is setting up camp for the next 2.5 years as he finishes out his 30-year cycle and prepares to jump into a brand new one when he enters into Aries energy in a couple of years. So I also want to just give a couple of notable mentions on what we got going on this week because we're building up to something. We're already with an orb of Jupiter conjuncting Chiron, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, blessing, our spiritual wisdom, meshing, teaming up with Chiron, the wounded healer, both in this Aries energy. So this has a lot to do with our identity, with our ego, with our sense of self, the growth, the transformation, the healing that we've gone through, and recognizing who it is that we now are and who it is that we desire to be as we create this new foundation and structure for a new reality to actually take place. Jupiter conjunct Chiron takes place on the 12th. This forecast technically only takes us up to the 11th. That's why I felt it necessary to actually speak upon it here today, because we are building. We are in this energy. We are within orb, but we are building to this direct aspect that will be taking place on the 12th. Again, take a listen to all the forecasts that I put out so that you can understand the depth of this particular aspect and what it means for you, how it's going to show up in your life, how it's going to impact and change you and transform you. The last thing that I want to talk about, again, another notable mention, is that we will be building towards the last quarter moon, this time in Sag energy. What does this tell us? It tells us that we are going to be exposed to a brand new path, a brand new mission, a brand new quest, a brand new adventure, a brand new mission, brand new purpose, brand new truth. That particular aspect will be taking place on the 14th. So it does deserve a notable mention. So there is a lot going on. That is an understatement. You are likely feeling it because you're exhausted, you're confused, you're at your wit's end. You're exactly where it is that you need to be. We're going to talk about that. We're going to dive into what is going on mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, energetically, of course. But first, a couple of things that I just would like to address. First of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for subscribing. My YouTube channel is absolutely getting the shit kicked right out of it. I try to be as transparent as possible. By no means am I ungrateful in any way, but I made $200 last month, I should say, from YouTube, which is a serious hit to where I was at. And when I take a look at the time and the energy that I put in to YouTube, I am definitely not getting my return on investment. That is definitely putting me in a situation to kind of, I'm going to say, reevaluate how much time, energy, passion I can put into this particular channel. This is something that I do under a soul contract in order to provide as much information and knowledge to those of you out there that need it, that need validation, that need guidance, that need assistance. And by no means am I saying that I am leaving y'all in the dust, not doing that at all. However, my heart and soul was definitely devoted to building this YouTube channel. And I am definitely feeling defeated and just recognizing where it is that I'm being called to do things differently. So you can expect the same old for me, although I might kind of do it in a more condensed version. I might not spend so much time going through every single aspect of the day. But it's very hurtful to see, a blatant attack as far as I'm concerned, with real no reason or justification. It is absolutely just hurtful on the heart. And, that's why I thank you guys for being here, for showing up, for doing all that you do, because, the algorithm hates me. And I don't have as many comments. I don't have as much interaction. And I do understand that this is a very difficult time where everybody is kind of introverted. Everybody pulls back. Nobody really wants to talk. Nobody wants to connect. Everybody's kind of behind the curtain, if you will, just taking it all in. And for those of you that are in that position, I thank you so much for being here, even behind the curtain. I thank you so much for hitting that like button. I thank you so much for taking the time to drop an emoji in the comments, because all of that really helps the algorithm. But I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the numbers. I'm a numbers type of gal. And to me, the return on investment just isn't there. So definitely expect a lot of changes from me as we move into Aries energy. As I've been saying, I am really trying to pour my time and energy into the places that it's reciprocated in. And right now, although Patreon has its downfalls and I'm still not really comfortable with what it is that I'm able to do there, that is where my time, energy, and focus is going to be moving into this new astrological calendar. I am working on some new things to bring a little bit more help and assistance to those of you doing the individual self-help journey, hopefully to kind of help you navigate each season, the highs and lows of it, what it means for you. I'm also working on a Hack Your Birth Chart course, a moon guide shadow work course as well. I know I talk a lot of talk and I've said it before and then nothing happens, but at this rate, the way that I'm going, I cannot depend on YouTube to be my bread and butter. So I got to boss up. That's where we're all at. We got to boss up. We got to try new things. We got to be inventive, creative. We have to bring new spark, new fire, new flames into our reality. And I plan on doing so by example. So I appreciate y'all just sitting back and waiting and being very patiently waiting for me to get my shit together. But you can definitely expect some big things coming from me as we move into this new astrological calendar. So I want to thank you for being here. I'm not going anywhere, but please understand that my energy will likely be a little bit more limited when it comes to this channel. If you want my heart and soul, my passion, my knowledge, please jump over to Patreon in some kind of capacity and we will work together over there. So one thing I'd like to say is I want to thank you for taking the time to be here, for sharing your energy with us, for being present in this chat. I want you to drop me a line and just let me know how you're thinking, how you're feeling, how you're experiencing life. Most of us super exhausted at this particular point in time. I want to thank you for downloading your zodiac forecast. I know that many people just like to bypass their zodiac forecast. I get it. But again, that's my extra attempt at kind of financially supporting myself while helping other people as well. Super affordable, gives you all the information that you need to have in order to plan out your month as best as possible. And I just think it's a very fair exchange. So if you're not into downloading your zodiac forecast, of course, individually from my website or access all 12 from Patreon, then please at least listen to the March energy forecast. It's free. The only investment you need to make is your time, your attention, which I know is very valuable, but I think you should be investing in yourself, especially as we close this calendar out. Make a new commitment to yourself on what it is that you're going to do to boss up in this healing journey in the new astrological calendar. We have a full moon on the way. I have that full moon guide ready to drop here over the weekend, so pay attention to that. You will see, especially if you're a moon guide subscriber, your dashboard take a couple of new twists and turns. Let me know if you are a moon guide subscriber, if you like that new format, if the information is a little bit better and easily accessible, and if it makes more sense, if it has a better flow. Again, I'm in readjustment stage, taking a good look at all the things that I've already created, seeing where it is that I can breathe new life into them, and essentially taking what it is that I haven't been able to do and create something new out of it. And again, all an attempt to basically help guide us through the highs and lows of this particular energy. So I want to thank you all for subscribing, for paying attention to the moon guide. We're definitely going to do a deep dive in the shadow work in this little moon workshop that I've been working on. So hopefully that is something that interests you as well. So with that out of the way, let's jump into some of the Ascension symptoms that we can talk about. Now, disclaimer, some of you may be wondering why I'm not talking about the 3-3 portal. Well, that, my friends, is because there is no 3-3 portal. You hear me talk about this often, how the spiritual and New Age community likes to grasp at straws for every single potential numerological event and connection. This, my friends, is the 13th month, resolves down to a number 4. This is not the 3rd month, okay? They got you tricked. And, the 3rd day of the 3rd month, well, that's very interesting. But guess what? There's absolutely no cosmic alignments to suggest that there is any kind of portal. And again, may I remind you that if you do not kind of align with that set of beliefs and you 100% believe that there is a magic today because it is 3-3, then all the power to you. Reminding everyone out there that what you believe in is your reality. You give it power. So if you choose to align with these certain numerological events, by all means, throw yourselves in it. But I, for one, will not be talking about the magic of the 3-3 portal because there is no magic on the 3rd of March, other than the magic that we create within ourselves. So that is why you will not see any posts from me, or that we will not be spending any kind of length on this wonderful spiritual manifesting energy of the 3-3 portal, because it is non-existent, my friends. I felt like I needed to say that. I felt like I needed to get that out of the way. One thing I also want to talk about, and this is going to play into the Ascension symptoms, because as you know, there's not very many of us feeling so hot, so good these days. We're definitely under the weight, the heaviness of this cleansing period, this purification period that we all have to go through in this Pisces energy in order to prepare us for a brand new year. But may I remind you that healing hurts, okay? Healing hurts, guys. It doesn't feel good. Sometimes the healing hurts more than the actual wound does, the pain does, the trauma does. And I think it's important for everybody to understand, especially if you are somebody that gets caught up in the New Age kind of babble, there isn't light and fluffiness that comes with awakening. Awakening is very painful. The ascension process is very painful. Dealing with the shadow self is very painful. Healing in its own entirety is painful. It does not feel good. So what I would like to kind of welcome you to do is to change your perspective around it. If you are feeling the weight, if you're feeling the pain, feeling the pressure, feeling the squeeze, that means you're healing. Instead of sitting here wondering when the healing is going to be over and when you're going to feel good again, that would almost suggest that you would be in a state where there is nothing to heal. And in order for you to be in a state where there is nothing to heal, you would essentially have to be dead, my friends, because life on Earth is a painful process for a reason. Humans only change, only evolve, only grow, only transform when there is pain in order for something to need to actually change. That's why we come here. We are eternal entities that live out our whole freaking lives with no end in sight when we are at home and we are at source. That's why it's nothing for us to agree to come and play this video game, because we know nothing's going to happen to us. We know that once the video game is over, we return to our eternal source. And why wouldn't we come here and play this game? This is the only place that we get to feel all the emotions that we don't get to feel when we are in our natural state of being. We come here for the pain. We come here for the emotion. We come here to be messy. That's what it is to be human, is to be messy. So many of us just trying to reach this particular point where there's nothing to heal. I'm sorry to tell you, but that, my friends, will likely not happen until you leave this earthly vessel and you return back home to source. Our goal here as human beings is to find the light, the happiness, the joy, the silver linings, the greatest little pleasures and joys while we go through the pain. We wouldn't find happiness, light, pleasure, or joy if we didn't have the experience of darkness and pain and trauma to actually see where the good is good because of where the bad is bad. And again, I know it's kind of like a contradiction, but we need to bridge the gap between recognizing that something is good or something is bad, that something is light or something is dark, because again, that's duality. And I know that we're in Earth School and we're under the constructs of duality, because that's what we come here to do, is to see the polarized situations and options and to learn how to walk the middle ground here. But the goal here is to recognize that the good cannot exist without the bad, and the bad cannot exist without the good. The light cannot exist without the dark cannot exist without the light. And it is the same, I like to say it like this, just like politics, right? You get left wing, right wing. Well, the left wing and the right wing are the wings of the same bird. They're the same. They're the exact same thing. And the light and the dark, the whole good and bad concept, the same thing. We have to push ourselves, pressurize ourselves to not identify such an extreme polarization or duality between the elements in which we're experiencing. That's the goal. So I know a lot of people are struggling right now. You're supposed to be, hate to tell you. I know a lot of people feel like physical crap right now. That's what you're supposed to be feeling. There is this element in Pisces energy. We go through it every year, every calendar. We go through this, where the Pisces energy totally beats the crap out of us, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. It's supposed to happen that way because we need to be at a certain death in order to be reborn. And that's what the Aries energy does. That's what the new astrological calendar does. That's what the equinox energy does, is it clears the board of the karma that we were working through and sets the tone for a brand new game to be played. That's what we're building to. That's why everything feels so extreme, so intense, so dark. We also, may I remind you, have our two generational planets, Saturn and Pluto, both at the 29th degree of the signs in which they're in, prepared to make major moves that will absolutely impact the history of Earth as the collective, as humanity, as we know it. It's a big deal. It has a major factor on how it is that we're thinking and feeling and how it is that we're operating. We are watching the old systems collapse. There's a need for that. We are, especially with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, we are watching him enter into the last round of his cycle. All planets have their own orbit, their own cycle. Any planet that enters into Pisces season is here to deconstruct, destroy, end, put a death to whatever it is, accumulatively speaking, that we've been picking up and carrying through this past calendar year. This is a cleansing stage, a purification stage, a realignment stage, recalibration stage, and none of that feels good. Okay, so let's just start there. Healing hurts. So, of course, we are feeling some pretty heavy emotions. We are being triggered and activated, especially in our heart space, with some old memories that we didn't even know were affecting our present day decisions that are coming up in different ways in order to activate and trigger us so that those emotions and energies can rise to the surface so that we can see them from a different light, process them in a different way, integrate them in our experience so that we can move on in a sense of wholeness. Now, there's been a lot of weight on the heart space. There's been a lot of weight in our physical bodies. We're in a water sign, which means that it feels like we're 500 pounds running underwater. That is natural. What is kind of weird, and I contribute this to some other planetary aspects that's going on, you would think that us being so saturated in a water season would mean that we are hydrated and that we're feeling good. We're a little bit like lubed up physically. However, I'm finding that the dryness is actually a major thing. There's a dryness in our skin, in our throat, in our eyes. We have like cotton mouth. Even when we're drinking lots of water, it doesn't feel like we are hydrated enough. It feels like we have a dryness taking over in our sculpts, in our fingernails. I know I've been having a hell of a time with all my fingernails breaking. That plays into the palm chakra activations as well. But like the dryness is a thing, and it's super weird for being in this much water energy for us to be this freaking dry. Now, I know that a lot of us struggle with stomach issues. And again, a lot of that is because of the nerve endings in our stomach. And of course, when we are uncertain and worried and concerned, that has a major impact on the psychological connection to our digestive system. So, it's always been an Ascension symptom. But let me just tell you, with the full moon in Virgo approaching, you can expect your stomach issues to take an all-time high. We have a lot of nervousness that comes in, a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of worry that comes in under the Virgo energy. This is where our stomachs will be upset, where our OCD and our perfectionism actually creeps out in order to realize how badly our OCD and our perfectionism actually keeps us from achieving what it is that we set out to achieve. This full moon is going to be a huge realization where it is that we got to get out of our own way, especially in our narrative. Again, Mercury ruled full moon in Virgo. We have to take a good look at even the smallest details, and I'll break it down for you. These are some good things to focus on. How do you wake up in the day? Okay. Are you waking up to an alarm that is just absolutely shocking your soul back into your body from your dream state? Are you waking up to music? Is that music favorable? What's the first thought that you have? What's the first state of emotion that you allow to take over your mind space and your physical body in laying in bed, very first thing upon waking? How do you wake up? How do you get dressed? What's your routine like? Are you present for it? Are you absolutely dreading going to work? Do you hold anxiety over your day? Do you feel pressurized to complete the tasks? Are you flying by the seat of your pants, trying to get everybody to where it is that they need to be? Are you arriving at your place of work with a happy heart, with an orientation to wanting to be of service, or to just get this freaking day over with so that you can go home and numb yourself out? Where in your day are you creating enough space for you to chill out, for you to be present in your body, for you to give yourself a little bit of time and attention where the mind, body, and soul equation is concerned? Where in your day are you taking the time to address the physical ailments and concerns that you have going on in your body that you're likely distracting yourself from as you throw yourself into taking care of other people when you should be taking care of yourself? What kind of judgments are you casting upon yourself? Where is it that you are highly critical upon yourself? Where is it that you could be easier, more encouraging, more loving to yourself, more supportive overall? Where is it that you find your safety, you find your stability, you find your comfort, you find your peace in the run of the day? Where is it that you free flow through your tasks, your chores, your mundane responsibilities? Where do you need to become more present? We need to take a good look and analyze the F out of the inner realm of your mind. Your mind sets the tone for the whole day. Your mind sets the tone for the emotions that you will be experiencing. Here's an interesting concept. Did you know that you cannot deem something good or bad without the thought process that attaches to an emotion? This is where the observer mentality comes in, and this is what I'm trying to kind of loop you around to. When you act as the observer, we talk about it a lot. Act as the observer, act as your higher self. You want to take the big, broader picture, but you want to analyze things, see things for what it is that they are without attaching an emotion to it. The minute that you attach an emotion to it and deem it good or bad, the minute that you align with a certain perspective or opinion is the minute that you create a mental blockage for yourself. Good, bad, or otherwise, doesn't matter. You're creating a mental narrative out of something that is just simply asking to be observed without you absorbing any kind of opinion, judgment, or emotion on what it is that you are observing. It is very hard to act as the observer without attaching an emotion to what it is that you are observing. The work here is to observe and not absorb, right? And that is a tough challenge. But this full moon in Virgo, this is where it is that we have to unpack our criticism, our judgment, our perfectionism, our inner dialogue, our daily habits, what it is that we are allowing to loop in our mind. And of course, what we focus on is what we give power to. It's a time to release that, to end that, to rearrange, reorganize that. Virgo energy is a problem solver, but we have to identify what the problems actually are. And 9 times out of the 10, the problem is you. The problem is your mental plane. The problem is the narrative. The problem is your perspective and perception and your understanding of the world around you. Even more than that, the Virgo energy is here to create order where there is chaos. The Pisces energy is chaos. We need chaos. just as much as we need order and structure. We need the chaos and the confusion. That is what this full moon is going to amplify for us. And there is a restructuring, a reorganization that is needed at this particular time, especially seeing as Saturn goes and moves into Pisces energy an hour after this full moon takes blast. This is karma. This is karma moving from one particular life lesson to the next. And this next set of spiritual life lessons that we got going on is going to be wrapping up Saturn's 30-year cycle. So you best believe that the Saturn in Pisces energy is going to be intense. This is a major, major boss up on where it is that we have to provide ourselves stability among the chaos. Structure, well, still going with the flow. So it is going to be interesting. We are going to feel this in our stomachs. There's a sense of nervousness that comes up. The anxiety is going to peak. That hunger sickness is going to continue. I feel like the weight of the world, especially of the responsibilities that we have, the existential dread that we're trying to work through, it is going to be a little bit intense and exaggerated, especially while we kind of move through the last days of Saturn being in Aquarius energy. And of course, as he adjusts to this new Pisces energy and under a full moon, nonetheless. So we have to expect that there is going to be a major emotional chaos as we, yes, realize where it is that we have to balance the scales under the sun in Pisces and the full moon in Virgo, but also where it is that we have to balance the scales after shifting into this Pisces energy that Saturn is about to dive into. So what's interesting, I think, is this heaviness and this weight that we're feeling is kind of like the boiling point that we need to get to in order to make a great change. This is all a perfect setup. It's all been divinely scripted in the order in which all the astro events kind of take place in over the course of March to build us up to this brand new beginning, this brand new chapter that I'm sure we're all looking forward to. But it's almost like right now, we can't see the forest past this one tree. Okay, and this is another good example on the full moon Virgo versus the sun in Pisces. The sun in Pisces is illuminating the forest as a whole. The full moon in Virgo needs us to concentrate on this one tree. We are so focused on this one tree that we're missing the vastness, the beauty, if you will, of the forest. And because we are fixated on this one tree, we are not seeing how the forest is operating as a whole. And there is this element right now where the vastness of what it is that we don't understand, what it is that we can't make sense of, what it is that we don't see, what it is that we need clarity on, validation on, what it is that we need to know before it is that we move forward. It's a compulsion. That Virgo energy, it needs all the details in order to understand where it is that we're going. The Pisces energy is like, you know what? Screw the details. We're going to get there regardless of the details. You got to let go. You got to surrender. You got to enjoy the ride. And that's a very hard thing to do when we're moving into such uncertain times. So, of course, the emotions are going to kind of, match the energy, and it's heavy, it's weighted, and we're, kind of stuck in the contrast of trying to see the big picture, but then zooming in on the smaller details of what makes the big picture actually exist, and vice versa, and knowing that we can't get caught up on either, that the beauty is by, blending those two extremes together and walking the middle path. And it can be very, very challenging. So physically speaking, though, that head pressure will likely dissipate just a tad, but the confusion and the delusion, not going anywhere. The dreaminess, the detachment, the dissociation, not going anywhere. Those are Pisces themes. We're all up in it, especially now that Mercury's in Pisces too. It's a double whammy of confusion, of delusion, and of dreaminess and vagueness and non-clarity, let's say. But the head pressure that we've been experiencing, although will be dissipating, will likely come with a decongesting process of the snot that we got going on in our head. Many of us over these last couple of days, especially when the Schumann Resonance kind of kicked off and we've seen those huge energy blasts, we started to see that pressure build in our head space, behind our eyes, in our jaw, in our ears. That's very much that Mercury and Aquarius energy. Now that we've shifted into Pisces energy, everything is more fluid. So we're going to see that fluid start trying to be released. It needs to come out, it needs to go somewheres, and we're going to watch this decongesting process just absolutely take over. And, disgusting, yes, to get all of this fluid and all of this phlegm and all of this gunk out of your orifices. But again, we're in a purification stage. We got to get it out. We got to lighten the load before we enter into the new astrological calendar. So I want to talk about the fact that, yes, I know the stomach issues are always a thing. Now, you may be, and again, TMI, okay, warning, TMI, humans are gross, but whatever. We tend to become a little bit more constipated as we get towards that full moon, which of course will act as a trigger and a releasing point in order for the floodgates to open and for us to be cleansed. Okay, so not just this full moon, like any full moon, we can kind of see that we're holding back, right? We're hesitant to change. We're hesitant to release emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And of course, that is going to be manifested physically. So as we get closer to this full moon, you may find that things start get moving again. What I wanted to talk about is the frequency to the bathroom trips, especially where your bladder is concerned. Now we're in a water season. You should be hydrating accordingly, especially because it's weird that we're in the water, but yet we're thirsty and that we're drying out and all this, weirdness, this polarization weirdness. But we have, we're going through a cleansing, right? And, our bladder filters out the bad and gets rid of it. Our bowels, filter out the bad and gets rid of it. Our lymph system is let's call it the channel of toxicity and garbage. That's what kind of carries the waste to where it needs to go in order to get out of our body. There is a lot of frequency with how many times we all need to go to the bathroom, especially at night. And this is a cleansing and purification period as well. And there is an element where you might be feeling a little bit stuck with, your inner digestion or, the toxicity release, if you will. That's where the lymph node system needs a little bit of your help. Look into dry brushing, look into massage, look into jumping up and down, dancing all around to get that lymph system up and stimulated, activated, get it moving, get that crap out of you, literally speaking. It is time for us to pay a little bit more attention to the health and wellness of our physical vessel, especially as we enter into a new astrological calendar. Our energy is upgrading, therefore our vessels need to be strengthened and upgraded as well. The dream state is mighty whack, as we've been talking about. Of course, many of us verging on night terrors. Yes, there are some premonition dreams coming in, but don't get too caught up on that because there's so many timelines being created right now that I would hate for you to align with a premonition, a dream that is of an old timeline in which we're trying to collapse. And of course, you think that it's going to happen. So therefore, the power of your mind is going to contribute that particular energy to the hive mind because you're not the only one out there thinking the way that you're thinking and focusing in on what it is that you're focusing in on, especially the timeline that you're currently on, that you're trying to jump off of. And this is all about hive mind, guys. This is all about the collective. What we focus on is what we create. And that's why we're at this very interesting point in power right now, especially in the evolution of Earth and humanity, because we've never had this many people awake with this level of awareness and enlightenment and consciousness. And therefore, we have to be super careful with what it is that we focus on and what it is that we believe to be true, because that is essentially what we will create. We have the numbers to do it. So it is very ideal and beneficial to focus on the highest timeline, the highest best outcome possible, because we literally are creating the reality in which we will be living. And the last thing we want to do is pour into fear. We don't want to do that. So the head pressure, like I had mentioned, is likely going to dissipate. But what I will say is that around the Jupiter and Chiron conjunction, I would expect to have a moving headache or headache migraine, even back of the neck type of pressure, aches and pains where the head is concerned, in the jaw as well, just because there's a magnification and a healing energy. And as we kind of explored healing hurts and in Aries energy that rules over the head, we definitely want to expect that particular pressure will be building for that particular event. And then, of course, there will be a releasing point of that energy and pressure that will set us on a brand new adventure, a brand new mindset on what it is that we need to do to continue this healing journey and really kind of reinvent ourselves in a way that this Aries energy wants to mold us into. This is a rebranding, a re-identification of who it is that we are and how it is that we see ourselves and how much we've been able to grow through some of the pain, trauma, and struggle that our higher selves have divinely scripted for us to experience. I feel like, and I talked about this before, but I feel like I have to repeat myself, so I do apologize. If you feel lonely and isolated, you're exactly where it is that you need to be. This Pisces energy has the ability to connect all of us or to disconnect all of us. And like I had mentioned previously, coming into Pisces season, you can be in a room full of people that you know love you, support you, and encourage you, and still feel alone. The reason being is because we are essentially upgrading our energy, frequency, and vibration. Therefore, we are not ourselves. Therefore, we are unstable and uncertain on who it is that we are, how it is that we are feeling, and how it is that we're connecting to the people in the world around us. There is a certain position of isolation and solitude that is needed in order to go through the healing process. That's why when you first awaken, you see all your friends and family like they are just like crazy, and they see you as the black sheep, as the alien. It's like, drinking your whole life and establishing your inner circle around drinking parties or at a bar, and then suddenly you decide to get sober. Well, you realize that all of these people, they're living a different reality than you, and it's hard to watch. It's hard to continue to be a part of. So the Pisces energy isolates us and puts us in a certain level of solitude to defragment our energy, to defrag our vibration and frequency. And that can be very disorienting and disassociating because we don't know who it is that we are. We're not supposed to, because we are in an adjustment period where we're no longer our old selves, but yet the new version of ourselves haven't quite been anchored in and born as of yet. That will come in Aries season. So yes, if you're feeling alone, whether you are physically alone or among a bunch of people, welcome to where it is that you need to be in this healing journey. And again, does it feel good? No, healing hurts. Okay. That's going to be our motto for today. Healing hurts. So, sit with the attitude of gratitude to be in this level of isolation and solitude, to defrag and to really do a deep dive, to get your bearings back, to get your mind right, so that when you reemerge as this new vibration and frequency and version of yourself, you can reconnect to those that actually deserve your energy, your time, your love, your attention. This is not forever. It is just Pisces season. It feels like forever. So, yes, there's going to be some negative narratives that come up. There's going to be some flashbacks of fear, of old pain, of old trauma, especially around that full moon in Virgo. I will say, and I'll be as transparent as possible so that you know that I'm not speaking down to you or from a place in which I do not experiencing these things as well. I'll give you a short little version without as many personal details as possible because I am a Scorpio, so I like to keep things private. But my best friend, which is pretty much my soulmate, my sister from another Mr. and Mother, we're pretty much cut from the same cloth. I literally feel like she is a younger version of myself. I do not know how there are two entities walking this earth that are as much the same as we are. We got into a little bit of a situation over this past week where I was coming from a place of fear. I was coming from a place of my experiences, my wisdom, my knowledge that didn't work out so well for myself and for the people that I observed over my lifetime and my experience. I shared these particular thoughts with my friend because she is about to embark on a journey that I already had walked upon, that I suffered great pain, great struggle, great fears from. In my attempt to protect those that I love voiced my opinions, but did not realize that I was voicing them from a projection of my own fear and experience, therefore tainting what experience she had yet to even initiate. In doing so and having this conversation and hashing things out and being communicative and talking things out like healthy people should be doing, we realized that in conversation, I was triggering for her a very painful past memory that she had to deal with in relationship with her mother. And I was projecting from the pain and trauma and experience that I had already gone through, not realizing that she may have a totally different background, perception, understanding, and perspective on the experience that I had a bad taste in my mouth about, that I was pretty much projecting onto her like she was going to have the same experience for me. What we realized is that we triggered each other. We triggered old memories within each other that had nothing to do with each other. And what we were able to do by talking to each other was to heal those particular memories, those particular pains and wounds and trauma that neither one of us created in each other's lives. We were just coming together in this fresh experience where I had a painful past, a painful experience and reference that I was bringing into this moment that triggered her to think of something that her and her mother kind of dealt with years ago that she can't deal with her mother now about because she's not awake. She's not able to have this healthy form of communication that me and my best friend have. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because an old flashback, an old memory, an old fear, an old pain, an old wound, an old trauma can get triggered in a new situation that gives you the ability to not only talk through and walk through what it is that you've been holding on for all of these years and unpack that luggage and set that suitcase down and really contemplate whether you want to put those items back in it, zip it up and carry it into the future with you, or like we did, we sat, we unpacked, we put everything in our suitcases out for each other to see, and then we helped each other repack each other's suitcases on what it is that we can leave in the past and leave behind, and what it is that would be helpful for our experiences in moving forward. So triggers and activations can come out of nowheres. They can be related or unrelated. Take the opportunity to work through it. Okay. And if you have someone in your life that you can bounce these things off of, that can act as a trigger and an activation where you can take a healthy conversation and walk through that past pain, wound, and trauma, you have no idea how freeing and liberating that particular experience can be. So this is what I mean when flashbacks of fear come back. When you recognize, and you got to be aware, you got to call yourself out on your own bullshit in that moment when she came back to me and was like, you know what, listen, you took me off guard when you said this. I didn't like how you approached this. I didn't know where it came from. In that moment, I was like, shit, my bad. I didn't even realize that I was projecting my past experiences, my pain, my trauma, my wounds, my fear onto a situation that you haven't even scratched the surface of yet. My bad. But you have to be accountable with your own self. You have to call yourself out. That's what this healing work is. And again, healing hurts. So back to the physical aspects for a second. Yes, that head pressure is shifting. I want to talk about this earache. And I'm talking like when you swallow, you can feel the pressure in your eardrum just ready to burst. It's weird. And it's only happening seemingly to one ear on one side, which of course is indicative on the blockage that you have. Mine right now is right side. Right side is ego. Right side is physical realm. Right side is fear. Right side is taking aggression and assertion in life in order to actually create something new. And as I rattled off to you at the beginning of this particular forecast, I'm in a moment of change, of recognizing where it is that I have to reevaluate where my time, my energy is going into. And with that triggers imposter syndrome, triggers confidence issues, triggers self-esteem issues, and you have to push through it. You have to grow through what it is that you're going through. And the right side is very indicative that you are unsure, uncertain, that you are facing blockages, challenges, and obstacles in the survival of your existence, of your identity. If it's left side, you got some emotional, spiritual things going on behind the scenes. So we have to pay attention to what side of the body these things are actually being triggered and activated in. Now, Pisces season, may I remind you, the unconscious collective, where we want to escape, we want to run, we want to hide, we want to disassociate, we want to numb. Pisces energy really does rule over our numbing agents: alcohol, drugs, food, work, social media, gym. Yes, they all sound semi-harmless and moderation, however, are all vices in which we all use to escape from time to time. Now, let me just say, in Pisces energy, our tolerance for numbing agents is lower. So even if you are on prescription medication, that prescription medication is going to affect you in a much different way than it normally does. Same with your alcohol and drug intake, okay? It is going to be affecting you in different ways. So please be cautious of it. Again, Saturn moving into Pisces energy, one of the topics and themes that I'm super excited to really unpack and heal for the collective is our addictions, okay? Especially where Big Pharma has consciously devised a plan in order to get all of us hooked on something in order for them to capitalize on our mental health, on our addictions. I cannot wait for the responsibility, the accountability to be put on these bigger organizations that have played a major hand in getting the collective numbed out on something. We definitely can look forward to that. But in this Pisces energy, I know that many of us are just looking to run, looking to hide. We aren't really feeling our hottest selves, so we throw ourselves in some kind of form of numbing agent, avoidance, and escapism. That is not the way to do it, my friends. As you hear me say often, you have to feel it in order to heal it. And with today's mantra, healing hurts, right? You can't numb it. You got to feel it. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. The last thing that I want to talk about is, so last week we had like this gasping for air, and I gave you the analogy. We're out in the ocean. We've been treading water. We're trying to keep our head above water. Our breathing pattern is very shallow. We're getting tired. We think we're going to drown. We're gasping for air. Well, this week, my friends, we're going to have a hard time swallowing. Maybe you're going to choke on your spit. Maybe you're going to choke on your air. Maybe you're just swallowing at the most random times where it's not a natural, organic bodily function at this point. Regardless, be very careful that you aren't choking on your food. Be very careful that you are breathing correctly, that you're taking deep breaths in instead of those shallow ones. Be very conscious on what it is that you're swallowing, because here's the thing, we're having a hard time right now swallowing the truth. Right? So when we have a hard time swallowing the truth, we're going to have that manifest in the actual physiological exercise of swallowing air, spit, food. Okay? Choke it down. Just do not choke to death. Okay? That's what we're trying to avoid. So guys, I know that that's a little bit high and low and mostly low and kind of all over the place, but that's where we're at in Pisces energy and in this calendar. We definitely have a major week coming at us that's definitely going to illuminate the energy blockages, what it is that we need to break up, concentrate on, rearrange, reorganize, and restructure. We're definitely going to be going through, I'm going to say, all of it and then some, just with the energies taking place, with all the shifts taking place, what it is that we are building towards. And again, you know, with Saturn on the move, we really do have to understand that this is going to be a major impact on our energy, on our mind space, on our emotions, and of course, our physical body as well. But guess what? We're going through it together. You're not alone. You're not cray-cray. We're going to energetically and spiritually link arms, give each other the love and support that we need in order to get through this. We are so close to the ending finish line and the beginning of a brand new race, a brand new life, a brand new reality that many of us are overly eager and anxious to begin. So guys, I hope you have a beautiful week. I'm sending you nothing but love, and we'll talk to you soon.